Hi, my name's R.T. Brown. I'm with the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. Today I'm going to walk through what I'm calling a business resiliency assessment. It's essentially a 12-month cash flow projection. It's to help you take a look at where you are now and then based on certain assumptions, understand what potentially an infusion of capital might be able to do for the business and its resiliency. The assumption that we're going to use is a low interest loan, and I'll work through an amortization table to show you how you can derive the appropriate principal payment, interest payment, and put that back into the spreadsheet. So just bear with me while I resize my screen, and I'm going to jump right into this. Okay, so the first tab you'll see, it's the worksheet itself. It's the 12-month cash flow. I put in a company name, fiscal year that starts on January 20th at the beginning of the calendar year, and then across the top here you will see the months as they extend out through the year to the right. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, the next tab is company data. And here, just for example, I included a couple of assumptions, and you can play with these numbers yourself, but it takes two different companies. One's a company that has annual revenues of $250,000 a year. Some part-time employees, there's 5 earning $15 an hour each, with an average hourly work week of $30 an hour. And a quarterly company draw, owner draw, and square footage for some leased space. The next tab is an amortization tool, and I'll get to this in a minute, but it's basically to help you understand what your payment might be, and it breaks it out by interest and capital repaid and so on. So let's just jump right in here. Okay, so cash on hand, and again, I'm just making some assumptions. So I'm going to go over here to the company data, and we're going to say that this company has put 1 month of gross revenues in reserve, and that's what's going to come to be the cash on hand. We're going to start in March because we've only got a few days left in March. Cash sales, this coronavirus, the COVID-19 incident, started to happen and really hit us in March. So I'm going to say that the sales, the gross revenues, we were impacted by about 50%. So I'm going to take the gross monthly revenue and say that there is a 50% revenue loss. Okay. I'm going to now jump down to the expense section. So purchases, unfortunately at the beginning of the month, this company had to, not really knowing the impact, but raw materials and inventory were purchased, and that's about $7,500. Gross wages, we talked about a little bit, but I'm just going to enter the formulas here. So we've got $15 an hour times 5 employees times an average work week of 30 hours. And we're going to annualize that now. So that's going to be multiplied by 52, divided by 12. And that's our monthly expenditure on wages. Payroll expenses and other things, I'm going to just, again, this is not terribly scientific, but I'm going to just take 20% of the gross wages. Great, okay. Outside services, so at the beginning of the month, some contracted work was done, supplies, typically $120 a month, and general supplies, repairs and maintenance in the budget that was done last fall. $150 a month was budgeted for repairs and maintenance. Advertising, the company was doing about $200 a month in advertising, $150 in mileage, accounting and legal, QuickBooks Online, rent. I'm going to do this calculation. Go back to the company tab, 8,000 square feet times $8 per square foot divided by 12. That is the monthly lease. Couple of phone lines. $275, utilities $850, power some equipment, and insurance $200. Taxes, I'll just do 7% of the revenue. What did I do? Taxes equals 0.07 times, and then I'll scroll up to revenue. Okay. Interest, we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so here we have the beginning of April, and we've got now $3,573 cash on hand. Well, we're going to do a projection and go conservative that the revenues are going to take a greater hit. So we're going to say 20% of typical revenue. Purchases, we knew that, there was an impact, so it's really down to about $3,000. Gross wages, you have gone to one. You've had to make the difficult decision to let some folks go. So you are, sorry, while I pause, can't talk and think at the same time. I'm going to use absolute value references for these cells so I can carry them over. You've had to let some people go, so you're going down to one support person, so that'd be divided by 5. Okay, and then again we'll do a percentage of that. Very good. Okay, and now you've really started to look at the fact that you've got to talk to vendors, landlords, anyone that you can talk to see if you can pull some things back. So contracted services, you've really pulled back to minimal. Supplies, you're just, that's going the wrong way. You're just getting the bare essentials. Repairs and maintenance, you've stripped that budget because that was preventative anyway. I hate to say it, but that's sometimes what you have to do. In advertising, you've really stripped that back. So you're just boosting some Facebook posts or something. You've also really scaled back on because you've had no choice, on your travel. Accounting and legal can't really change a lot for subscription services. Rent, again, you're in discussions, but nothing's been settled yet. But you're in discussions to see if there's some accommodations that can be made. Telephone stays the same. Utilities, because you're not producing as much, and maybe you've reduced some hours, those bills have come down a little bit. Insurance, unfortunately, stays the same, and tax revenue is a percent of gross. All right, so looking at May, it looks tough, right? We're in the red for $4,556. So going, into April, you realize this, and you started to investigate some of the different programs that are becoming available. So you want to now. So you started the process of gathering your income statements, previous year's financial statements, your impact statement. So you think there's a pretty good likelihood that in May you'll be able to secure an infusion of capital in some form. And so for this example, we're going to use a low interest loan. So I'm going to jump over here now to the amortization tool and plug in $15,000. Maybe I'll go low. I decided to bump it up a little bit because in this scenario, the company's been able to pivot a little bit, and towards the end of the month, they've seen an uptick in their online sales, so they're starting to feel a little better about their ability to adapt and still maintain some level of revenue during this period. Okay, so a loan for $18,000, interest rate of 3%, and I'll keep it at 5 years. You know what? Actually, I think I'll make it 6 years. But the interesting thing about this, we're going to look at an interest-only loan. So let's say that is for 9 months. So I'm going to zero out capital repaid to 0 to come up with what the interest charge would be during that 9-month period. So that's $45 a month. So I'm going to go now back to the 12-month cash flow statement, and I'm going to jump down in May. So the assumption we're making here is that this interest begins in May, $45. I'll carry this over a few months. And like I said, the business has started. Sorry, I'm jumping around. So the business has started to see a little bit of resiliency in terms of their pivots because of the pivots that they've made. So we're going to let's keep the income, the revenue, the same as it was in the previous month. So again, I'm going to make these absolute references. Oops. Bear with me. Let's see if I can carry this over. Yeah, there we go. Good. And maybe you've done some collection. There were some accounts receivables that you've had. So I'm going to put in $850 there. Merchandise purchase, inventory, raw materials. I'm going to bump up to about $3,500. Wages, unfortunately, are going to stay the same. So let me carry that over. So this would be the same. And I'm just for being quick and trying to illustrate this, I'm just going to carry the rest over. I neglected an important part. I neglected the cash infusion, so I'm going to put that in here. So, it helps. I think the next thing to explore would be, reducing expenses even more. This growing revenues even more. The assumption could be made that, by June, the business is, maybe experiencing not a full 80% loss in revenue, but maybe at this point it's 40 or 50 because the things have started to change a bit. So I hope this was helpful. Again, this was a very high-level overview of how you might be able to use this tool to explore, again, your situation now, and then what potentially a little bit of cash infusion might be able to help with. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at the BDCC, and remember to attend our business resiliency webinars on Fridays. We were lucky enough last Friday to have that occur right after the House signed the CARE Act, and that's now been passed. And so there's some really interesting programs that will be becoming available to help businesses through this difficult time. Thank you.